Today is Saturday, August 5th, 2023, and I'm entering the second half of my grind and hustle today with a short field and within range of a couple of milestones. The biggest of the two milestones will be my reaching $2,500 or more earned in a week, and this is all being done out of my sprinter/cargo van. And by the way, if this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. The second milestone, at least what I described it, what I've said to be, is not really a milestone, but it's definitely a number that I will earn today, and that's having earned $500 or more. And it's actually the second time this week that I've done it. But in recent weeks or recent segments of the Gig Geezer, I've mentioned other type of notable feats. In this particular segment of the Gig Geezer, I noted how I earned $10,000 or more in a month, which was last month, July 2023. The exact number was $10,498, or you can round it up to $10,500. The next is having earned $2,000 or more in multiple consecutive weeks. And this apparent run started back during the week of June 19th through June 25th. And this week is actually the 7th consecutive week that I've now earned $2,000 or more. Prior to that, I hit $2,000 or more once this year, and that was the week of March 27th through April 2nd, in which I did $2,273, and that was in this particular segment of the Gig Geezer. I can't say that a lot of what I've shared has been this rah, cheery, sunny content, because I hope that what I've shared has been realistic and content that's relatable, and also the content that I've shared is not something that's presenting clickbait and enticing people into pursuing opportunities that may be dead end. And it kind of reminds me of when I see some of the content that's out there that's telling people that you can earn $2,500 in a week doing this, and you can earn so much a year doing this, and so much a month doing this. It kind of reminds me of a place that I actually worked at when I first lived here in Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area back in the year 2000, when I first moved here full time. And that was this car dealership. It was Pulliam Ford. I worked there for a little less than a year. And Pulliam had the reputation back in the 1990s that, hey, if there was a place that if you really needed to make some money, and I mean like right here, right now, try to get on at Pulliam Ford. And there was some truth to that. I mean, I went there pretty much for that same reason, because I had just gotten out of the newspaper business back in February 2000. I got on in April 2000, or at the end of March 2000 at that dealership. And I actually made more money than I'd ever made to that point in my life. I mean, what I made in 1 month was probably the equivalent of 2 months working at the last newspaper I worked at. But that said, Pulliam Ford does not exist. And the reason why Pulliam Ford didn't exist, because they did a lot of questionable stuff in their operations, and I saw a lot of that firsthand. Now, extrapolate that out to some of the content that you see. Yeah, some of it's questionable, but in fact, some of the people whom I've seen put out this content, I've yet to see them say that they've done it themselves. I've yet to see them say, hey, here's what I did to get here, or to get there, or to get to these numbers. I've yet to see many of them do that, but they're always telling you what you can do, what you can make. What I'm getting at too is that what I've said in many occasions, it's really all about what you do at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, and ultimately at the end of the year. And while it's easy to say that market has a lot to do with maybe what you're able to do in terms of opportunities, and there may be some truth to that. And I'll admit too that there are a couple of places in which I've had earning opportunities that I believe that are tougher than my market, the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. But to that extent, it's still all about what you do at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, and at the end of the year. It's all about how you maximize your opportunities in your market. And it's also about setting goals that are realistic that you might be able to achieve. I can see that much of my delivery is of a teacher's disposition. And I don't apologize for that, because I actually, I will say that yes, I am a teacher by nature. In fact, in actuality, I did sub for 1 year in my daughter's school district, and I wasn't there to collect a per diem. I actually would teach the classes. I would teach what the teacher left for the daily course plan, but also added more to it, to the extent that I'll give you an example. The three classes that I tend to sub were math, English, and history. In a math class, how many substitute teachers are going around teaching trig identity theories in a pre-calculus class? That's the type of sub that I was. In an English class, I would go beyond just having them reading the book, but I'd go and actually try to explain why the lessons were, and how you can, from a writing standpoint, the philosophy, the mindset and the philosophy of some of the authors of the books and writings. So I was one who felt that I was not going to shortchange a child of an opportunity to learn, because I felt that I had been shortchanged many a times in my background with the school district that I started out of. I may not be the most qualified person to be talking about how to operate a sprinter/cargo van business, and while I may not be the most qualified to talk about a transport operations, one thing that I hope that is not mistaken of me is that I've not given people content that is not realistic or relevant. And hopefully what I've shared to this point after several months now is something that may be of some help and benefit to you. Now, I've talked for about 10 minutes, and again, I'm going to say, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Now, I've talked of this week being a milestone week, but I will say that it was a rough week for me physically and both operationally, because physically, I did a lot more driving than I usually do. And operationally, I did not execute a strategy as efficiently and effectively as I should. In fact, there were a number of occasions this week where I admit to basically chasing money, and that's not what you want to do. You don't want to be chasing money, but I did that. So far this week, if I were to give a breakdown, the last mile gig apps like the freights and the Curries and the dispatch, those and the point pickups, those apps have resulted in me earnings thus far $1,321.92, or about 53% of my earnings. The next significant component is the brokered opportunities, and I'm gonna get into that a little in a few moments here. I earned $1,015, or about 41% of what I've earned this week. And then there's the gig food delivery apps. I'm speaking of like the DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and Instacarts. They amount to $136, or about 5.5%. What made this week challenging was the brokered opportunities. In fact, I did 5 of them, or at least I attempted 5 and completed 4 of them. The one that I didn't complete, which was on Monday, I actually received $150 in TANU, or what they call truck ordered not used. That's the acronym the acronym is TANU, but the actual meaning of the acronym is truck ordered not used, or cancellation money in transportation world. And what I ended up getting that opportunity on Thursday, and the actual opportunity paid $190. So I got it on Monday, $150 which is the flat fee for cancellation, but the actual opportunity was going to pay $190, and that was a 47-mile route from Charleston to Andrews, South Carolina. The other opportunities were the same one on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. It was a 130-mile route from Dillon, South Carolina, which is like the northeast sector right up by the North Carolina border, over to Charlotte, and they all paid $225. And those opportunities pretty much comprised my second half of the day, and that from my doorstep to Dillon is like about an hour and 15 minutes, and then the actual drive itself from Dillon to Charlotte was a couple of hours, and then from Charlotte back to Columbia, I always look for something to catch on the way back to the house, and so it made for a very long day. In fact, so far this week, I've put in all of 56 hours, and I anticipate I'll be out at most a couple more hours this week. So altogether, I've put in 58 hours this week. That's a lot for me, a hell of a lot for me. But when you're doing brokered opportunities, you are going to put in more quote work hours as opposed to working gig apps locally. In fact, I think it's fair to say it's better to count hours put in when you're doing local stuff, but when you're doing brokered opportunities, working the road local, regionally and over the road, hours really don't matter. It's about what you made on those trips. After Thursday, in which I posted in this segment of the Gig Geezer, in fact, the earnings that I had through Thursday of this week appeared in this segment of the Gig Geezer, in which I was at like $1,450. And after I'd finished everything, I'd been talking to my fast friend Steve. I told him that I needed a $600 day. I needed to see one of those $600 days. Hopefully, like on Friday, which is yesterday, August 4th, 2023. And then I told my queen when I left out yesterday that I needed to make some money. Well, as it turned out, I had a pretty good day. I reached 91% of that goal, and that I finished at $550. And the game changer for me was having stacked together a freight opportunity here in Columbia that paid $203. Then, as I was heading up to Dillon, catching another freight opportunity that paid $49.65 over in Camden, and then getting to Dillon exactly on time. And so then upon completing that load, and when I got back to Columbia, I caught a Uber Eats that ultimately paid $13.01, bringing me to $2,003.60 after yesterday. So then I got up this morning, changed the oil in the van, and while changing the oil in the van, I happened to catch a couple of freight opportunities in Camden and in Sumter. And then after completing those, I caught a stacked dispatch opportunity that took me from Columbia out to Lexington. And then on the way back home, I caught a Grubhub for $10.69. So that's where I'm at. If anything, my documenting this second half grind, I feel, is anticlimactic, because the real work was done prior to hopefully these next 2 hours or less. But the one thing I will say ultimately, though, is that you're achieving whatever milestones you get will occur if you treat the operating of a sprinter/cargo van as a business. I know that there's a lot of people who are looking to venture into the ownership and operation of a sprinter/cargo van. You got a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, this is the great time to get into sprinter/cargo van. You could earn $75,000 to $91,000 a year doing it." Maybe, maybe not. I know that I'm on pace to do more than that. I'm on track to do more than that. But it's not this hocus pocus. Shazam! There you go. How it's done. In fact, many of these people are talking this potential stuff. I've yet to see them share any content that is of substance that actually gives you insight on strategy and the things that you really need to do. In fact, if you may see that stuff, they want to charge you for it, but that's I don't I'm not mad at them for doing that. In fact, um, I'm just not mad at them for doing that. If they feel that's the way that they're building their enterprise, that they're building their brand, or they're protecting their brand, or they're separating the riff from the raft, or as they say, the wheat from the chaff, based on how much you're willing to put up, so be it. I say this though: consider the source, and yes, consider what I say. Scrutinize it, in fact, if you have to. But when you compare what I'm doing, what I've done, to what they're saying, I think that's where the separation occurs. So I'm gonna segue now into starting this second half grind and hustle. I'm gonna be turning on DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats, and maybe Instacart, and hopefully I'll get those $30 much sooner than later. Alrighty, I am now leaving the parking lot of Hooters, which is the first order that I've picked up grind and hustle. The offer amount is $12.03, and it's actually going to someone whom I delivered to recently. In fact, the last time I delivered to the guy, he paid more than what was shown. The offer paid more than what was shown. In fact, it paid like $17 and change, if memory serves me correct. I'd actually recorded some content, but the dimensions of the actual footage was wrong, and so I had to delete it. And so now I've already dropped off the Uber Eats order. It went to someone whom I delivered to previously, and what I had actually recorded initially was that this is someone who's at an apartment complex that, well, what I recall, it took me a couple of attempts at finding his apartment, because here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area, some of these apartments are numbered just oddly, to say the least. And if you're not familiar with how they're numbered, you can end up going back and forth before you figure it out. And so, having gone there previously, I knew exactly where to go. It was handed to me. And the thing is with this guy, at least last time, based on memory, the final payout was actually more than what was shown on the offer screen. But you just never know. So at least for now, it's $12.03 what the order should pay. Now it's a matter of me migrating to another part of the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area to find some money. It has been rigor mortis, and I'm not surprised. But one thing I will say as I'm out here this evening is that I am so glad that I got this Sprinter/cargo van, and that I've not been as reliant on gig food delivery opportunities. Because if I had been relying on gig food delivery opportunities as it was a year ago, it may be a different story. I may be relying more on insurance agent money than gig food delivery money. All right, it's been nearly an hour since I dropped off that Uber Eats order, and I've been kind of just meandering around trying to find yet another opportunity. Admittedly, there have been a couple opportunities that I could have taken. There was a stacked DoorDash order for $17 that probably would have taken me straight to it would have been a walk-off situation. It was a pickup from the Village Idiot Pizza, and one was going on base, and the other was going to an area that I'm actually going now for this order that I just accepted. A one-item $13.68 offer from Instacart. quite honestly, normally it's one that I wouldn't take, but 1368, one item, and it's going like what was it, 9 miles. It's going to take me over to an area where I should see a little more volume of opportunities to get that next one. It could be that still the Uber Eats opportunity, the customer does tip more than like he did the last time, and if it's over 17 with this one, it's a walk-off situation. If not, then I gotta stay out for another order. All right, I am leaving Petco. It was just one item, a frozen block of dog food or something like that, something that I am not knowledgeable of. But the Uber Eats paid only $12.09. So obviously I did not set myself up for disappointment with that particular opportunity. And with this with this Instacart that's paying $13.68 for one frozen block of pet food, that's going to bring me to $25 and what, 77 cents or something like that this second half, and we're almost 2 hours into this second half grind, which is crazy. But here are the numbers. For the day, I'm at $495 and change, and for the week, $2,499.39. Now, here's where you have to be true to yourself. I'm certain that there are people, when they're this close, 61 cents away, they'll take the first fucking opportunity that comes their way. I'm not like that. I'm gonna crash and burn based on based on my my strategy. And if my strategy fails me, so be it. But I'm gonna gamble that I'm gonna find something that's gonna be worth my while, and it won't be a cheapie. In that, oh, I take something for $2.75 or $8, $9. I mean, hell, I passed up a $17 walk-off for something else. All right, we are well into the fourth quarter, and I just dropped off the Instacart, and while I was about maybe 3 minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes away from dropping off that block of pet food or pet snack or whatever it was, I caught a Uber Eats that's going to apartment community that's normally inhabited by college students, and that is my walk-off situation. Now, interestingly, I sent my fast friend Steve a screenshot of where I was, and he's like, well, what are you gonna do? And I told him that I wasn't gonna bunt, and I wasn't gonna quarterback sneak. And so he asked me, well, what are you gonna do? I said there are a number of options that I have. And so what I opted to do, as you see here, my options that I showed him, I opted to do the bootleg, quarterback bootleg. And so I'm running into the end zone untouched with a $10.68 order. Now the selection of orders were really some of the best that I saw. I mean, I hadn't seen much of anything for the last 2 hours and 15 minutes. I really hadn't. Again, probably that the best dollar total was a DoorDash stacked from Village Idiot Pizza, and it was going on base and actually over in this part of the east side of the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. But I opted not to go on base. I just didn't want to go on base. And the other order, which was what, $12.09 for 7 miles, that was the first one. That went to an apartment complex as well. It went to a customer, as I shared earlier, that I delivered to recently, but he didn't tip as much as he did last time. I mean, it was an $8 tip, but the last time he tipped like $10. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not bitching about the fact that the guy didn't tip more. I'm just sharing that what I recalled from that customer. In fact, it was handed to me as the last time. It just so, as I've also documented, I tempered my thinking to that this may be all that I'm going to get. And I was right. Now, the Instacart 1368, I've been on record as saying single orders $14 or more. Well, day like this, that's about as close as it's going to get. That was the best overall Instacart order I've seen since I've been out today. And then this last order, this Uber Eats, it is what it is, y'all. But I stand to be over $2,500 now for the week, and over $500 for the day. Alrighty, I said that I was going to do this my way, basically, geezer style. Geezer style is when you stack orders. You work multiple apps and you stack multiple orders across multiple apps. And here's what's going to happen. I've got my Uber Eats order in hand. I accepted a Grubhub for $14.12, and knowing the place that I'll be picking up from, they're going to take a while. And so I've already marked myself as arrived on Grubhub, knowing that once you're marked arrived, it's all fair game now. And so the drop-off location for the Uber Eats is about 7-8 minutes from the restaurant. And so once I drop off, I'll come back up there and then try to deal with the wait time for the Uber Eats. And so that's going to get me well above $2,500, and more like what I would have rather seen probably about an hour ago. But a couple of things about today, at least here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. Now, one would ask, why in the hell would I come out here for the second half when I already had made $470 rounded up? As I said, I wanted to make $2,500. And so I was willing to take a chance and come out here and hopefully do it sooner than later. It took me a little longer than what I would like, but I'm there. And I'm over $500 for the day. Those are chances that you take sometimes. It just so happened it's working out for me. The other thing is that here in the Columbia area today, it is the first of 2 weekends for the no tax weekend. And so the stores were bombarded by school shopping parents and families. And I would venture to think that, well, maybe a lot of folk ate out, or they didn't have any money left to buy on DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, or Instacart. Something to that effect. But I'll get back with you one last time, and that'll be once I drop off the Grubhub order, and we'll wrap up the day and the week. All right, it is a day later, and I am finishing up this particular segment of the Get Geezer, as it is about to rain here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. Now I did actually record content, but apparently I deleted it by mistake, or what happened was the actual film dimensions are not conducive to the way they should be for YouTube purposes. So I'm having to do this again. The summary is that I managed to reach that $2,500 earnings plateau, kind of geezer style. I managed to go as planned, as strategized, drop off the Uber Eats order at that apartment community, which is about 12 minutes away from the 12 minutes away from the Grubhub pickups location. That particular restaurant, Nick's, is oftentimes crowded, and there's oftentimes a wait for their orders. Upon arriving at Nick's, it turned out the food was just ready. They had just bagged it, and they were waiting on the fries for that order. So it actually turned out in my favor. Some would say that, geezer, you're playing with fire. You're gambling. Well, I will say this: you have to have a bit of a gambler's streak in you. You have to have a little bit of a gambler's mentality in order to work multiple apps and stack multiple orders across multiple apps, and that is geezer style. But I felt a little more relieved seeing another order. In fact, that was my best paying opportunity for the 3 hours that I was out there last night. I finished the day having put in 8 hours and having earned $519 and change. And for the week, $2,523 and change. And that was done in about 57, 58 hours as what I anticipated. It was done in about 58 hours. So that meant that I averaged just under 10 hours a day. With respect to daily earnings, over $420 a day. And miles, I have not calculated the miles for the entire week, but I can tell you miles for yesterday, it was 185 miles driven, and that translates into more than $2.50 a mile. Actually is more like closer to $3 a mile. So if you use that metric for some of you, that was a pretty good day. If there's anything else that I would share in this particular segment of the Gig Geezer, I hope that you've seen in the numbers that I have produced, you can discern for yourself that this can be done, and it's not under the guise of some clickbait, as what I'm calling it out to be, clickbait from content creators who probably do not have a spinner/cargo van of any kind, be it the Connect or a transit version among the Fords, or a ProMaster, both the small or the large versions, or even a Mercedes Sprinter van. They've probably not done much gig work themselves. They've probably not earned those same numbers that they're saying what you can earn or what you can make and all. They've probably not done any of that, but yet they're producing content and enticing people to pay for their mentoring courses, or paying for their whatever other type of whatever other type of material that they're charging you to partake of. That's on them. But again, my intent has always been to inform and educate. I've also felt that it's always important to be a first partaker of things. It speaks of how a leader does not go into war unless he considers the cost, but also a true leader, a true influencer is someone who's going to base things on actual qualified experience and be able to show actual examples of how it can be done. It may not be the end all be all example, because there is no single correct way of earning money through the ownership and operation of a sprinter/cargo van. That is the beauty of you being an entrepreneur, a business person, because your creativity can put you in a position of great works, and that's what it's all about. And hopefully content that I have shared here on the Gig Geezer channel is just nudging you in the direction of where you've been feeling that prompting in the first place to pursue. And with that, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer, or in any other segment of Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane, and as always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.